I got a second chance 1 week before the storm hit. In my last life, at a party celebrating my brother's college acceptance, my parents dropped their nice guy act. In front of all the relatives, they asked me to give my life savings, $200,000, to my little brother as a gift. I handed over my card with a smile. A week later, a flood came. Faced with a tiny boat that fit only 3, my parents decided to push me into the water. I drowned. This time, I willingly handed over the $200,000 to my brother Jack. Got any words for Jack? The host asked, pulling me back from my thoughts. I took a deep breath, the realization hitting me, I'm back. Thinking of how I died last time, my hands couldn't stop shaking. Last time, rain poured for 2 months straight. No one thought much of it until a record-breaking flood hit the world. By then it was too late. The floods did more than just drown cities. Landslides, mud flows, broken dams, and food shortages left countless people dead or homeless. I looked around. This was the week before the storm at Jack's party. Nancy? The host prompted again. My parents opened their mouths but didn't speak. I knew what they were about to say. I steadied myself and cut them off before they could. No fancy words. I've got something better. Here's a card with $200,000. Do what you want with it. Congrats on getting into a top university. I patted Jack's shoulder, seeing a quick flash of greed in his eyes as he grabbed the card. Thanks, sis. He was so thrilled he almost lost it. Guess he didn't expect his usually distant sister to be so generous. For the first time I heard a thanks from Jack, the little devil who always bullied me. Before, my parents were fair, every time they scolded him good. I didn't mind his tantrums. But at the party they couldn't hide their favoritism anymore. They demanded I give my savings to Jack, leaving me with no choice but to obey. Penniless, I crashed at my parents' house. That week the rain didn't stop. When the flood came, the boat couldn't take us all. My parents pushed me overboard to my death. No problem, Jack. You deserve it, I said, emphasizing the word deserve. Memories of betrayal still haunted me. Let's see if you can survive the storm this time. You guys are so close. Who would have thought? Mom cried happily after the party. I lowered my gaze, hiding my tightly clenched fists, my fingers pale from the pressure. Of course we get along. Me handing them money was just what they wanted, and Jack's pride got a boost. But what about me? Am I just here to die? Pushed by you into the water, I whispered to myself. What are you talking about, Mom? We're family. I get it now. What's mine is Jack's too, I reassured with a smile. Mom was delighted to see me so understanding. Yeah, right? My parents are her parents, so her house is our house too, Jack said with a sly grin. Mom chuckled, playfully pulling Jack's ear. The act barely masked her agreement. They adored him. Inside, I laughed bitterly at their shamelessness. The parents who doted on me before didn't say a word to defend me now. In my past life, I was so foolish, blinded by fake affection. Happy family of 3, what a blissful sight, right? Except for me. I rushed back to my place. The moldy leftovers and piles of trash were unmistakably my brother's doing. When I got the apartment, Mom pushed me to add Jack's fingerprint to the lock. He and his friends partied through the night, leaving chaos I'd apologized to neighbors for. When I asked Mom for money to buy the apartment, they ran off, returning with a house for Jack instead. Seeing the mess brought me calm. Here I found my safe space. As the flood approached, I had a plan. I lived on the 25th floor. Last time, the water rose 20 floors high. The rain wouldn't stop for 2 months, and when it did, the floodwaters took weeks to recede. I needed to build a safe room and stockpile enough supplies for 2.5 months. But I was broke. Suddenly, an idea sparked. Back at my parents' house, they'd already finished dinner, leaving a mess on the table. Glad you're here, Nancy. Clean up, will you? Mom barely looked at me lounging on the couch. With my new attitude, they'd grown bolder. Not even a have you eaten? Or anything nice that you'd expect. Oh, and Jack's AC is busted. Need you to get a new one, Dad said casually. Sure, I'll get it tomorrow, I replied, swallowing my anger. And pay your living costs too, Nancy. You know how tough making money is for us. Mom added with fake sympathy. I paused mid-wipe, took a breath, keeping my face steady. Okay, Mom, handing over my last $2,000. This is all I've got, I said. All right then, Mom, a bit disappointed, remarked, probably recalling the $200,000 I'd just given and the new AC for Jack promised. You know, about your app, Dad, I've thought it over. Being just a girl, I don't need my own place. Let's transfer it to Jack, so he's all set for marriage. I predicted what he'd say and cut him off. My parents jumped off the couch with excitement. Nancy, are you serious? Of course I'm serious. I replied with sincerity, carefully choosing each word. Daughter, we've been too strict with you in the past. My mom said, her eyes filling with tears as both of them hugged me tightly, overwhelmed with emotions. See, every time I propose something that benefits my brother, my parents always get all emotional and end up in tears. But, sweetie, you're not going to change your mind, right? My parents noticed my hesitation and asked cautiously. It's not that, but you guys know I've given all my savings to my brother. I don't have money for the mortgage right now, and the ownership transfer needs the house to be fully paid off. Could you lend me $500,000 to pay off the mortgage, and then I'll transfer it to my brother? My voice got softer as I spoke. My parents hesitated. Don't worry, once I pay off the mortgage, I'll transfer it right away. I swear. I raised my hand in a vow. If you're worried, you can move in tomorrow. I can't exactly kick you out. That part is true. My dad relaxed and decided. Let's do that. He always knew how to handle me. The next day, my parents and brother moved into my house with bags and bags of belongings without hesitation. The master bedroom is big. Plus it's got a computer for gaming. I want to stay there, my brother exclaimed, pointing at what used to be my room, full of enthusiasm. Go ahead, I'm sure your sister wouldn't mind, right? My mom said, turning to me with a smile. Sure, go ahead, brother. I can sleep anywhere. I responded, hiding my resentment as my parents smiled with satisfaction. Holding on to the money, I left, unable to suppress my anger any longer. My first priority is to buy a new house with a higher elevation to store my stuff. With the $500,000 in my account, buying is impossible, but renting is. Coincidentally, there's been a vacant apartment next door that hasn't been rented out for a while. The owners are abroad and seldom come back, so they weren't very concerned about renting it. I contacted the owner and successfully rented it. I hired a contractor to knock down a hole just big enough for me to go through between my apartment and the one next door and installed a thick steel door. This way I can go back and forth freely. I also reached out to a seller who deals in inflatable boats. It's always wise to be prepared. The owner was surprised when I wanted to place an order. The industry is declining and he was about to close up, so it was a surprise to find a buyer. Are you sure you want to buy? The owner asked cautiously, careful not to offend his only client. Yes, but I have conditions. I need one with a really strong motor. Bring out your best. This one, it's our top model right now. It's pricey, but since I'm leaving the business, I'll give you a deal, the owner confessed honestly. After buying the boat, I headed to the store at the foot of the mountain for a shopping spree. I bought bags of rice and flour and lots of starchy foods like corn, sweet potatoes, and potatoes. I also stocked up on things like noodles and ramen. The building is full of neighbors and friends. I'd like to help them survive as much as I can. I got 50 boxes of bottled water and lots of ready-to-eat food and frozen snacks. I also bought lots of vegetables and got 2 big freezers to store everything. Plus, I stocked up on meds, pain relievers, antibiotics, allergy meds, and emergency supplies like nitroglycerin tablets. I got a bunch of masks too. After all, when the floodwater receded in my past life, the stench from decomposing bodies mixed with mud triggered a viral outbreak. Those with weak immunity didn't make it. I used the back freight elevator to move all the stuff into the neighboring apartment at night when no one would notice. Realistically, if they paid attention, they could have figured it out, but once my parents saw me as easy to handle, they let their guard down. They just loaf around all day, waiting for me to bring back everything they need, 3 mouths to feed. When my mom called, I was in a class learning how to operate the inflatable boat. Nancy, hasn't the mortgage been sorted yet? Mom, the bank said it'll take some time, I whispered. If you're lying to us, I'll make sure you regret it, my mom threatened harshly. Back then, this would have scared me to death, but now I'm a Nancy on the path of revenge. Mom, why would I lie? Aren't we all here for my brother's good? They said next Tuesday the bank will release it. Just 3 days, can't you wait? I played along. In reality, I had already quit my job and was focusing on moving supplies. Only 3 more days before the storm hit. When I got home, my mom started nagging me immediately about coming back so late. It's all your fault. Now hurry up and make dinner. Why can't you transfer the title immediately as promised? Mom snapped, implying it to my dad. Dad came over and slapped me twice across the face, making my head buzz. If you think you can mess with us, I swear I'll break your legs. The slaps were full force. My face immediately swelled like a bun. Clearly, they didn't trust me entirely. The $500,000 in my hands made them uneasy. I wiped the blood from my lips and took a deep breath to calm down before saying, "The bank doesn't work just for me. At the latest, it'll be next Tuesday. If you're in such a rush, why not just kill me now and claim the inheritance?" I laughed a bit crazily, blood staining my grinning lips. Dad lifted his hand again to hit me, but Mom held him back. Now, what's this all about? If you kill her now, it won't do us any good, I overheard my mom whispering to Dad. These are my dear parents, I thought with deep self-mockery. That night, it began to rain lightly, and everything was going according to plan. 2 hours before the heavy rain, the sky was filled with lightning and thunder. It had started raining, and water was starting to accumulate. The entire community was filled with joy, relieved by rain after months of drought. Everyone was excited, not realizing this was the prelude to disaster. In the evening, I got kicked out by my parents because there was no food at home. I acted like I was leaving and then sneaked into the neighboring apartment. By now, the rain was pouring down hard, and Mom was getting anxious because I was taking longer than expected. She texted me, "Nancy, are you planning on running away? It's taking so long for just groceries." "Mom, the rain is so heavy I can't get a ride." "I'm walking back," I replied. Hearing I was on my way back calmed her down. "Hurry, your brother is starving." Right now, I'm in the house next door, casually having dinner while enjoying the downpour. The property group chat sent out a notification. "Emergency alert, the rain is heavy, and the basement has flooded. Please avoid the basement to prevent drowning." Videos in the group showed water up to a person's height, and it was impossible to leave the neighborhood. Ring ring, the phone rang. On the other end, it was Mom yelling, "Where did you go shopping? Why aren't you home yet? You trying to starve us to death?" She was starting to panic. Sipping my tea, I replied calmly, "I'm back. The rain's too heavy, the flooding's deep, and I couldn't grab much. The store next door already had people fighting over goods. You've been gone for so long and just brought back a few potatoes?" Mom couldn't believe it. "Mom, too many people were fighting for groceries. I couldn't compete." Mom's angry voice came through, "You're useless. Should have never had you. Raising a son is better. Daughters are no good." Dad chimed in agreement. As I went to grab some food at dinner, my brother yanked my hair, dragged me to a room and slammed the door. I heard the lock click outside. "You think you deserve to eat? Reflect on your actions in there." Jack echoed, "Yeah, gross, just a few potatoes. What are we supposed to do with those?" I knew they aimed to starve me, so I turned on my recorder. From inside I pleaded, "Mom, Dad, please let me out. I promise I'll only eat a little." "Nancy, it's your own fault for not being capable. With so little, how could you share? Just stay hungry for a few days until the flood recedes. You won't starve." A small smile crept on my lips. "Really? You won't starve, you said it. Don't blame me for being ruthless." The neighborhood had become a watery expanse. The first and second floors were flooded, and people started moving to higher ground. The property group sent a new notice. "Attention! A rare massive flood is affecting us. Power has been cut off at the main switch due to the flood. Please stay away from water to avoid electrocution." With no power or water, people started asking for food in the group chat. "Anyone have extra food? I'll pay." At first they could get some. Everyone thought the rain wouldn't last long. Mom even managed to buy plenty of food like vegetables and meat in the neighborhood. Full and satisfied, they began to criticize me in the group chat. "Brother, Nancy, idiot, it's all your fault. A few potatoes won't feed anyone."
"I'm starving, Mom."
"Mom, my sweet son, don't get mad. It's bad for your health. Your dad and I will feed you first." "Dad." "Nancy, nothing else edible at home? Relax, it takes a long time to starve. Dying painfully is worse." I replied gently, "Don't worry. You're not the only ones, everyone will suffer." The group fell silent, shocked by my words. After a while, I heard Dad's furious yelling. "Nancy, do you even know what you're saying? You dare curse your brother?" His voice echoed through the house. "Don't rush. Not just Jack, you're all doomed." My crazed words stunned them into silence. Seeing disbelief wash over them made me smile with joy. On the third day of rain, with the first wave of the flood, the water rose to the 10th floor. Some cried, others secretly laughed in relief. It was humanity on display in one small building. By the first day of the storm, my parents and brother had run out of food and were now sprawled on the couch from hunger. Mom tried to go out and trade money for food again, but nothing traded. She returned crestfallen. With rain worsening and water deepening, no one was willing to trade anymore. No one knew when the storm would end. After last night's flood peak, we'd already heard multiple times about lower floor residents drowning. Everyone was cherishing life and hoarding food tighter. Hey, did you hear? A family on the 5th floor drowned. Only one pregnant woman escaped. I recognized the voice as our neighbor, Aunt Jenny. Her door was open, chatting with my mom. That's a pity. No one can predict such natural disasters. My mom sighed sympathetically. Where's your daughter? Haven't seen her in days. I remember she's home all the time. Jenny shifted the conversation towards me suddenly. Mom's face awkwardly shifted, remembering me locked in the bedroom. She must be sleeping. She doesn't go out much. Seeing Jenny's open door, her granddaughter happily eating watermelon, my mom swallowed dryly and asked, Jenny, your supplies seem plentiful, mind sparing some for us? Desperately hungry, Mom brazenly begged. Jenny saw my mom's greedy look. If she refused, my mom might storm in to rob her. Quickly, Jenny grabbed her chair and bolted her door shut. Mom retreated home empty-handed, with Jack wailing in hunger. They still ignored me trapped in the bedroom, as though I never existed. Plugging my ears with cotton balls, I enjoyed my meal. Steaming rice, flavorful fish-flavored shredded pork, a big chicken leg, and a soda, taking a photo to share. Brother spotted it first, speaking excitedly, Mom, Dad, look. Sis has food in her room. Mom's furious voice echoed outside, Nancy, you brat. You hoarded food in your room. Open the door. Then heard banging, Dad kicking the door, Nancy, open it yourself, save a beating. Dad tried coaxing with threats, such authority fitting ahead of the house. I recorded a video of it, highlighting the rice's aroma and the soda's sweetness. Mom turning hysterical, open it, I'll kill you. You hog everything for yourself. The door's covered in holes, about to open. Brother dealt the final kick, bang, it opened. No imagined stash, only a solid steel door stood behind it. They sat defeated at the entrance, cursing me in the group chat. Soon, an alert, 99 messages unread, undoubtedly filled with insults. Ignoring it as night fell, the world quieted. On the 10th day of rain, the flood reached the 13th floor. It seemed the sky had a hole, pouring dark water below, and all was a murky yellow. My parents and little brother were so hungry they couldn't even stand. They just lay there in the hallway, crammed in with the other neighbors. The neighbors couldn't just watch them starve, so they tossed them scraps every now and then, just enough to keep them alive. There was a pregnant woman in the building. With everyone's help, she was well protected and got enough food to stay healthy. Jack, watching with envy, somehow found the strength to shove her aside, grabbing the bread from her hand and eating it in 2 big bites. By the time people realized what happened, the pregnant woman was on the floor, unable to speak a full sentence. All she could do was weakly repeat a few words. Pain, belly, baby. Saving her was more important than anything else. One of the neighbors, a doctor, quickly checked her over. She showed signs of a potential miscarriage and was having contractions. A familiar neighbor spoke up. She's only 7 months pregnant. If she loses the baby, it won't survive. Everyone went quiet after hearing that. Jack, who started this mess, stood there looking pleased with himself. It's just an unborn baby, not a real person. So what if it's lost? With some strength back after eating the stolen bread, he spoke without remorse. Everyone suddenly remembered they hadn't dealt with Jack yet. How could he talk like that? It was inhumane. The neighbors crowded around him. All you could hear was screams and pleas and the sound of my parents cursing. In the end, my parents hobbled back inside, dragging a battered Jack with them. Seeing the pregnant woman in pain, I was frantic. I remembered I hadn't thought to buy medicine for pregnant women when I got first aid supplies. I quickly checked the first aid kit and surprisingly found a bottle of tocolytics. Maybe I grabbed it by mistake, thinking it was something else. I opened a small window and handed the medicine to Jenny, asking her to give it to the pregnant woman. Jenny was relieved to see me. Nancy, you're alive. Oh, excuse my mouth, I'm just glad you're safe. Your mom. Jenny trailed off. She's always been kind to me, ever since I moved here alone. She'd bring me food, saying it was homegrown and pesticide-free. Her care felt so genuine.
Aunt Jenny, infine.
I have this bottle of medicine I accidentally bought when getting cold medicine. I think it might help someone. Jenny took the medicine carefully, and after the woman took it, she seemed to get better. The pain stopped and the contractions went away. With the crisis averted, everyone was relieved and in good spirits. Most of the building's residents seemed to be genuine and kind people. The next day I shared some food, potatoes, sweet potatoes, stuff that's filling and nutritious, and asked Jenny to distribute it to everyone. The first day was a bit chaotic. Some who were desperately hungry tried to grab things, but they stopped when Jenny stood firm with her ladle. Yep, Jenny's the one serving. She's tall and tough, having run a restaurant with her husband for years. Their house is never short on food, with several full freezers. With plenty to eat, Jenny handled those who wanted to take advantage without breaking a sweat. The first day of food distribution went by without a hitch. Some people tried to stir up trouble. You're giving us raw sweet potatoes and potatoes? How are we supposed to eat those? Especially the elderly and kids. Hearing this, others scorned. Sharing food was already a generous act, yet some still complained. I replied, you can burn any wood stuff you have, like tables or chairs, in a safe place. Go fetch water from the river, boil it, and drink it. Why not? If you're too attached to your furniture, ignore what I said. What's more important? Your life or your belongings? Mom and Dad showed up late, eyeing the food other people had, which was still warm. They tried their old tricks but were quickly pinned down and taught a lesson. Someone sneered, want food? Go ask Nancy. Why are you just grabbing from others? They released my parents in disgust, as if touching them would dirty their hands. Nancy? Nancy gave you that food? Mom shouted, enraged. Nancy, you liar, you're giving food to strangers and not to me. Is there no justice? Is my daughter trying to starve me? She howled in the hallway, hoping others would back her up against me. But no one did. That whole incident with the pregnant woman ruined whatever goodwill they had with the neighbors. I pinched myself hard enough to cry on cue. Tears streamed down my face. Mom, you told me to save food for Jack and stay locked up in my room, hoping I'd starve. I'm your daughter too. I broke down. No humanity in them, trying to starve their daughter while feeding the son. Unbelievable. Her son's a piece of work too, the one who pushed the pregnant lady. Everyone chimed in. Seeing this, my parents realized there was no getting food now. They hurried inside, closing the door against the angry words outside. On day 15 of the storm, driven by hunger, they started pleading, gently knocking on my door. Nancy, please open up. I'm sorry. We didn't mean to treat you like that. We love you. Jack's been sick since that beating. He's feverish. Please help him. Their attempt at force didn't work. Now they tried to guilt-trip me with family ties. Love me? Really? I thought of the moment in my past life when my parents coldly pushed me into the water. The thought filled me with icy contempt. Why should I care about Jack's life? Did anyone ever care about mine? What do you have to say, Mom and Dad? I spat out the words, half choking on them. Their response was nothing but silence. On the second day of distributing food, my parents lined up bright and early. Jenny deliberately skipped over them, handing out food to others first. This caused yet another argument. Why aren't you giving us anything? That's my daughter's food. Mom screeched, her voice echoing through the hallway. I rubbed my aching temples and opened the window. The food is mine. I can't control who wants to share, but my food won't go to them. I helped those who helped me. Them? I won't risk it. I like living too much. I'll be giving out food here every day at noon from now on. You can all come and get it except them. When Mom heard that, her face turned pale, looking at me in disbelief. Most of the neighbors in this building are kind-hearted. You could tell from how they handled that pregnant woman situation. Even though things are tough, everyone pulls together and somehow we manage to get by. I love helping kind people. But those who wronged me, humiliated me, and harmed me, I don't mind watching them suffer. The heavy rain has been falling for a month straight, with no signs of stopping. The floodwaters have already reached the 18th floor, almost matching the highest level in my past life. We distribute food every day, and based on my supplies, we can barely hold out until the rain stops. My parents are still alive, too. After all, it's hard to just watch kind people starve to death. The food they received kept them going until now. Mom turns the food she manages to get each day into something soft to feed my brother. His injuries have mostly healed, but the resentment in his eyes just grows stronger. From time to time, I snap photos of my meals and post them to the family group chat, like yesterday's hot pot and today's dessert. I add a video showing the whole delicious experience. They don't reply anymore, but their eyes are filled with rage. And honestly, I enjoy it. The more they hate me and can't do anything about it, the more satisfying it is. Who gets that feeling? After 2 months of rain, finally there's a hint it might stop this morning. Everyone's cheering, overjoyed to see the light at the end of the tunnel. People were so moved, some cried with relief. Some even fainted from the mix of excitement and hunger. But thankfully, I had heart pills ready. Everyone knew we just had to wait for the floodwaters to recede. Once they did, we could rebuild our homes. Watching the sun start to peek out, tears blurred my vision. In my last life, we didn't get this kind of luck to survive until daylight broke. But thankfully this time I did. But that night, something unexpected happened. Something massive in the floodwaters hit the building at a terrifying speed, possibly damaging a load-bearing pillar. The building started to visibly tilt and it kept leaning. It was like a bolt from the blue. Everyone realized the building was going to collapse. Suddenly there were cries, curses, and prayers. Every kind of noise mixed together. Hardly anyone could stay calm. It was a crisis unlike anything we'd faced, especially at night, which pretty much felt like a death sentence. Some people started thanking me, holding my hand. "Nancy, thank you. We wouldn't have survived this long without your help." Even Jenny, usually so tough, was in tears. "Nancy, looks like we can't escape this fate. No, there's hope. It shouldn't end like this." I forced myself to stay calm. "A powerboat, that's it. I have a powerboat." I brought out the boat and instructed everyone. It can only take 6 people at a time. Prioritize the elderly, children, the sick, and pregnant. I'll make sure everyone gets to safety. Do you trust me? Yes. They all shouted together. There was no better option. This was a desperate fight for survival. Luckily, once the rain stopped, the water level stabilized and wasn't rising anymore, and the current wasn't as strong. I divided the remaining food among everyone. Then we began boarding orderly. I had checked beforehand. There's a small hill next to the neighborhood, mostly with temples on it.